Alright guys, TacticalRab here and today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Scump has expressed his surprise that the CDL is even still alive after the last couple of years of terrible Call of Duty titles from his perspective. Does that mean that if we actually get a decent game this year, it might extend the longevity of the league? Or does it even matter too much? Because looking at the numbers for the last few years, it doesn't seem to vary that much regardless. Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, I wanted to mention, I don't know where this whole happy birthday thing started yesterday. I really appreciate all the well wishes and everything in the comments below, but it wasn't my birthday yesterday. My birthday was back in May, and kind of during the Toronto major. So I don't really know where that came from. If someone just made it up to as a bit of a joke or something, and everyone else saw it and started commenting happy birthday. But like, I do appreciate. Maybe it was my birthday yesterday, and I need to focus up. I don't know, because you guys almost had me convinced that it was. But anyway, so it wasn't my birthday yesterday, but I appreciate all the supporters of anyway. Now, quickly, just wanted to mention this. I thought was really cool. Like, even though CoD is in the downtime right now, there's still stuff going on. For example, in South Africa, there was a tournament that they held by African Esports. I think this was a $60,000 LAN here for Modern Warfare 2. These boys eventually came out on top, so congratulations to everyone involved in getting this ready. And of course, the teams that can beat down the champions themselves. Clearly, Activision, I'm pretty sure Activision has to say, if you want to host a LAN, like, okay, yeah, you can use our game to do so. And that's been one of the big debates lately, because I think the Rocket League event in, is it Riyadh, or the Gamers 8 tourney, or whatever's going on there out in Saudi Arabia lately, that I think concluded yesterday, and big money on the line. And clearly Rocket League and many other events are being played there, but Activision have always kind of been a bit skeptical, maybe for good reason, to allow their game to be played at those tournaments. You know, I'm sure the CDL wants the World Championship to remain as part of the CDL as opposed to an event in Riyadh, a Gamers 8 or whatever. But I know that Doug a couple of years ago said, well, the Saudis want to give us all this money to fly out there and play, so maybe it'll happen at some point. I wouldn't be surprised, because as Scump is saying, the CDL is in a bit of a questionable spot right now, and the Saudis seem to want to pay a lot of money to take over large swathes of esports. Does make me wonder what might happen on that front in the coming years. But let's talk about games such as Black Ops 3. I thought this, just screenshot from Blast just brought me back, really. I mean, taking a picture on his phone of the scoreboard. Here we are on Fringe Search and Destroy. We've got Afterburner, Fast Hands, Blast Suppressor, Dead Silence, M8 with the Reflect. It's just absolutely beautiful. Dropping 19 kills here for the dub. But it's been a big question lately. Is CoD anymore? Clay said before on the other day on the Stocksman's exclusive podcast that the game doesn't feel the same as it used to. The skill gap isn't the same. The quality of the titles, I think really since MWIII, in my opinion, has declined quite significantly. You can say that since like Black Ops, some people would say that since Black Ops 2 it's gone massively downhill. Some people would say that since Modern Warfare 2, I'm talking 2009, it's gone massively downhill, depending on when they started playing the games. The general perception in the really casual community is probably that we don't want to go back to jetpacks, but the games don't necessarily need to be jetpacks to actually be any good. You look at Cold War, that was, I think, a pretty solid CoD title, and I used to say it at the time. I used to get roasted. I remember this. I used to get roasted in the comments for saying Cold War was actually quite good, and people are like, oh, what are you talking about? And I'm sure those same people look back and think, actually, yeah, Cold War was pretty decent compared to what we've got delivered the last couple of years. I never thought the Cold War was like spectacular, to be honest. It was a rushed game by Treyarch. They had to force it out because Sledgehammer bottled Vanguard and therefore had to do it a year later, something like that anyway. So, I never thought Cold War was fantastic. It's one of my least favourite Black Ops games by far, actually. But it was still pretty damn good compared to especially what we had the previous season, and to be honest, what we've had since then, as far as I'm concerned. The higher health, the movement, the maps, other factors like that have been a big deal. And Scump seems to agree as well. He likes Cold War to at least a decent level, but the last 2 years, Vanguard, I know that there is some weird rose-tinted glasses going on looking back at Vanguard now. I don't really buy it personally. And now Modern Warfare 2, what we just had the most recent season, haven't been good at all. Scump didn't really say when he played that the games were terrible. Okay, he did kind of say it, but he tried not to say it because he's going to get fines. You guys know how it goes. Now he's retired, he can say what he wants, and he's been very clear that he thinks the last 2 years the games were terrible, and he says that he's actually surprised the CDL is even still going based on what we've had the last couple of seasons.
We hope that whoever takes over
is Treyarch in this next COD title. Aren't they making the zombies of the next title?
Oh,
MW3 zombies.
I know they've been making zombies for the last like 3 games.
I think they're doing zombies for this game, but they're like doing some crazy shit.
But
it's like open world zombies or some shit. Like 24 people.
Zombies.
That's insane. Really?
Yeah, I think it's something like that. It's like 6 teams of 4, and you're like in a big ass zombie map. something like that.
I hope that whoever
bad.
takes over does care about competitive in some sense, because we've been somewhat.
The past 2 years have been not so great. Cold War,
You can't get fined anymore.
huh?
Speak your truth, man.
Oh yeah, I mean I've said it on my stream. They've been f***ing awful. I'm just, both last 2 games have just been miserable.
That laugh says it all.
Vanguard into MW2, like I'm surprised CDL's still kicking.
How serious are you guys about
Just out of interest, these are the most recent 4 Call of Duty games. I do think things kind of changed with MWIII, the direction they went, moving towards the more casual side, getting rid of the red dots on the minimap, various other things. The time to kill just becoming ridiculously fast over the last few games. The aim assist becoming way stronger. We've talked about these concepts for some time. But is Scump right that the CDL finds itself in a more questionable position with worse games? Because I'm not really sure that it works like that. Like Scump's watch party, and we'll talk about the whole Twitch thing in a second, this most recent season was massive for this scene, really. And the viewership we had this year was better than we've had the entire CDL era, and was on par, if not surpassing at times, some of the viewership we had. Now, yes, that's including Scump's watch party, and that provides other benefits, and it makes sense the viewership's going to be massively inflated going to Twitch and having Scump and Zoom and all the others watch party in the games, but those numbers were competing, if not surpassing, some of the old school CWL events and stuff like that. So even on an absolutely terrible game, there's many reasons for that. Does a better game make it better? Absolutely, as far as I'm concerned. And I think the key reason why a better game makes it better, because I was wondering, right, this past season was a really good one. I mean, we had a surprise champs winner, to be honest, coming through and winning in the New York Subliners. Great stories such as HyDra really making a name for himself, all the drama with OpTic at the start of the season, the Pred conversation, Los Angeles Thieves, of course, FaZe winning but then kind of falling off a little bit. Vegas Legion nearly making the glory run to the World Championships. Great stories this past season. Great rivalries, Drazah versus FaZe, even like Scrappy versus Kismet towards the end of the year. And of course, so much happening on the OpTic side as well. Imagine we had this most recent season we just played on Black Ops 3 or something, right? Like, how elite would that have been, as far as I'm concerned? Now, would that have meant that the viewership would have been crazy, like more than we had this past season? These are actually the numbers from this most recent year. We'll have a look at those in a little bit more detail in a second. Now, MWIII, this was pre-watch parties, I think. Right? Oh, this is pre-Scump retiring, actually. This is the key point. So you could watch party at MWIII, but and it had gone back to Twitch, right? So it peaked about 160k, which is very impressive. Scump then retired, watch partied, and then we got this absolute mega blow up over the next couple of events in terms of overall peak viewership for some of these games. Obviously, the OpTic games are going to be dominating the vast majority of these rankings. I think that a better game helped more people discover the scene. I'm not sure. For like existing COD fans like myself and a lot of you guys, we kind of watch not necessarily for the game, but for the stories, the personalities, the drama. This is what COD is built on. And even if the gameplay itself isn't good, I'm still interested to watch and keep up with what's going on. If the gameplay itself was better, and the game was actually much better to watch, such as Black Ops 3, I would watch more intently, I'd be watching every single map of the series, as opposed to just tuning out for the control, as I have done, especially the domination back in MWIII. That was definitely the time to go and have a quick comfort break, right? But I do think that those better games, it's much more likely that kind of newer fans stumble, because let's say the game is actually good, there's ranked play in the game, people want to play the game, they want to watch people play the game, they're more likely to discover streamers, Scump's content, stuff like this. They're more likely to actually play ranked and want to kind of understand what the pros are doing. So I think that it's probably more beneficial, better games in getting people in. But to be honest, COD has never really been very good at converting a casual audience into being interested in the competitive side of the scene anyway. So, I do think that a better game is better for everyone involved. But I don't really think it actually makes that much difference. There's other factors that are more important, which is maybe surprising, but I don't think, I think that people that have been fans of COD for some time will probably expect this to be the case. That the Twitch move, right, allowing it to be broadcast on both platforms, it was Twitch initially, and then YouTube, the CDL also started streaming on YouTube towards the end of the year. I used to watch on there quite a lot because the broadcast experience is better, but it's not as good of a streaming platform in terms of discovery and many of these other factors. But the Twitch move, plus the retirement retirement of Scump took us to, Major 3, 335,000 peak viewers. Look at the recent couple of seasons. This was 2022, so, YouTube deal, no Scump, Scump playing it, no Scump retirement, no Scump watch party. Major 1 viewership where OpTic 1 peaked at 157k for the grand finals, which OpTic of course won, which would mean mega viewership, averaged about 70,000 viewership, which was pretty good compared to the previous season's major. And this was the Cold War season, just out of interest, right? This was a year where you would think the viewership would be somewhat inflated because the pandemic was still going on, people kind of stuck at home. Like, I know my viewership during this period was actually very good. Zoomer's was as well, he was blowing up. But in terms of peak viewership for the Cold War season, like, yes, it was YouTube and it obviously wasn't going to be as good, but nonetheless, I mean, these numbers pale in comparison to what we had this season, despite the fact that the game in Cold War was, I think by most accounts, not exactly objectively, but certainly on a subjective level, was so much better. The maps, everything than what we most recently had. But this season wasn't as interesting in some respect. Okay, there was definitely some interesting stories. The merger was about to go down at the end of the season, but FaZe kind of dominated this year, right? I mean, they won 4 of the 6 events and they were the team to beat like every single tournament. So maybe there was just less interesting storylines possibly this year that made less people tune in, whereas this past recent season, despite the game being pretty bad by most accounts, there were lots of storylines. And this is the question going forward. The new game might not be so good. Okay, this thumbnail didn't age particularly well, but I thought it was a good, insight into what we might consider going forward for the new year. Because those top teams are really exciting. There's loads of great storylines and rivalries brewing between the different players on the different teams. Who knows who's going to be the best team in the new game? It's really difficult to call right now. And I think those factors probably have more of an impact on how well the league does than, some of the factors like this, however good they might be. And even then, even if the league gets more viewership, let's say it gets 300,000 viewers rather than 150,000, does that really make the league more sustainable? Is it just, hemorrhaging money? Are the teams hemorrhaging money anyway? Pretty much the answer is yes, but still, they're going back to YouTube now, so we think they are anyway, so we can expect the viewership to drop off. We don't know what's going to happen with Scump's watch party, so, it doesn't really, I think that Scump makes a good point, right? The games have not been good the last couple of years, and it hasn't helped the league, really, like, the games haven't helped the league at all, but it seems to me there's other factors that actually turn out to be somewhat more important. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Just wanted to mention, like, I'd never seen, if you guys are still playing Black Ops 3 chals, I don't know why I'd never seen anyone do this before. I guess it's a pretty common play, but when you're challing out here on Infection, there's this head glitch here, which is really difficult to counter. But I see this guy, he just jumps up and then boost jumps into the ceiling so he can basically hover himself in midair and then one burst him. Thought that was really nicely done. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
Box.
No, I would never fuck someone that is a male for $1 million, bro. I'm sorry.
Not even me?
Absolutely not, dude.
Bro, what if I was a female?
I mean, if you were a female, then yeah, probably.
Yeah.
As long as I was single, I would definitely be a absolute whore for $1 million. One-time deal. Oh.
P1, oh my god, playing for me.
Hardpoint relocated.